Everyone should be able to make a basic tomato sauce for pasta, blindfolded. Okay, maybe not blindfolded, that actually sounds pretty dangerous. Luckily for us, the world's Italian grandma, the late Marcella Hazan, has graced us with the simplest, yet one of the most delicious pasta sauces you can make. Those clips that you just saw really sum up this sauce. Marcella Hazan really changed the game with her Essentials of Italian cookbook, and one of the most famous recipes in there is this sauce recipe. Why? It's simple. It's literally 3 ingredients. Let's talk about that. Ingredient number 1 is a can of whole tomatoes. Obviously in the summer, use fresh tomatoes, but in the winter on the East Coast, fresh tomatoes don't have any flavor, so I don't use them. And don't just take it from me, Marcella says the same thing in her book. If completely satisfactory fresh tomatoes are not available, it is better to use canned, imported Italian plum tomatoes. Okay, so no fresh tomatoes in the winter, so what do you want to pick up for your tomato sauce? My first choice would be some canned tomatoes from the summer, basically summer in a jar. My next choice would be certified San Marzano tomatoes. Found in most grocery stores, these are usually the most coveted plum tomato from Italy due to their sweet flavor and low acidity. My next choice would be San Marzano style tomatoes, which use the same seed but are not grown in the same area as certified San Marzano tomatoes. However, they are just as delicious in my opinion. Lastly, use any can of regular whole peeled tomatoes. No matter what you pick, they're still going to make a great sauce. So try out the different brands, see what you like the best, and pick your tomatoes. With the tomatoes selected, the next ingredient is the butter, which you may be asking yourself, I thought olive oil was the staple of Italian food. And Marcella does use olive oil in some of her other sauces, but not for this one. And as Kenji Lopez points out in the Food Lab, butter has natural emulsifiers that help keep the sauce creamy, and the dairy has a nice sweetness to it. Additionally, when you pair that with the last ingredient, a slow-cooked onion, it leads to a really well-balanced sauce. Now there's just a couple of tweaks that I like to make to help get this pasta sauce on the table faster and add some fresh flavor. But enough talking, let's get into the cooking. For me, I like a smooth sauce over a chunky one, so I start by crushing up the tomatoes. You could just use your hand, but I like to get out a colander and push the tomatoes through. If you have a food mill or a blender, this also makes it even easier. With the tomatoes ready, just get out your onion and chop it into fourths, removing that outer layer of skin. Lastly, get 5 tablespoons of butter and your ingredients are prepped. Now we're gonna head to the stove and set up our workstation. Add the tomatoes into a large skillet with the onion and butter. If you're wondering why I'm using a skillet, it's because the shallow and wide pan will allow for more evaporation to occur, so the sauce reduces and thickens up faster. Last but not least, add a small pinch of salt to the sauce. Don't add too much because we will be adding more later and the sauce is going to reduce, so if you add too much in the beginning, it's going to be even saltier at the end. Now what you're going to do is just set this heat to medium-low and let this thing bubble away for about 25 to 30 minutes until it is nice and reduced. Once your sauce has thickened up nicely, the most important part is you have to taste it. Taste it, add a little bit of salt, and repeat the process until the sauce tastes right to your liking. Once done, you can pour the sauce into containers and store it in the fridge for up to a week for all sorts of pasta dishes, or anything that really requires tomato sauce. It doesn't have to be Italian. To actually serve this sauce with pasta, this is how I like to do it. Set 3 liters or quarts of water on to boil. Once the water has boiled, add in 30 grams of salt, or 3 large pinches in my case. For a sauce like this, I love a good quality bucatini. Look for a box that says bronze cut or slow dry. The sauce will stick better. You're gonna toss in the pasta and set a timer for 1 to 2 minutes less than the package says. While that's boiling away, I'm going to chiffonade some fresh basil and get a bunch of fresh grated parm. Now grab your sauce from the fridge and toss it in the pan. Add a little bit of the pasta water to get it going, and then you can stir in the fresh basil and a nice handful of fresh parm. Make sure you give the sauce a taste and then toss in your bucatini. You want to stir this vigorously for about 1 to 2 minutes to finish cooking the pasta and let that sauce really thicken up and coat the noodles. With the pasta done, get a serving fork or a pair of tongs, get a big twirl of that pasta and set it on the plate. Add some more of that fresh grated parm and some basil for a garnish. Simple, easy, delicious.